In our last video, we talked about how direct injection changed the way engines make power. But all that power doesn't mean much if you can't get it to the wheels. And that's where the transmission comes in. Specifically, the dual clutch transmission, or DCT. It's one of the most fascinating pieces of automotive engineering in the last 20 years. And some people absolutely love it. Others can't stand how it feels, and if you're trying to decide whether it's right for you, it's worth understanding not just what it is, but why it matters. Let's start with the basics. Your engine makes power in a pretty narrow band of RPM. It's happiest and strongest in that range, but your wheels spin at a completely different speed. The job of the transmission is to connect those two worlds, multiplying torque when you need acceleration and reducing engine speed when you're cruising. A manual transmission does that with you, the driver. You're controlling the clutch and choosing the gear. A traditional automatic does it with a torque converter, which is a fluid coupling that engages and disengages smoothly on its own. A dual clutch transmission, though, is something kind of different. It tries to give you the best of both worlds, the direct mechanical feel of a manual with the convenience and speed of an automatic. So inside a dual clutch transmission, there are actually two clutches, not one, and they're connected to two separate shafts that run inside one another. Kind of picture a tube within a tube, or a pole sliding inside a hollow pole. The hollow outer shaft has its gears mounted near the front of the transmission. The inner shaft runs right through the middle and has its gears mounted farther back. Together, they form a sort of mechanical ladder. Gears spaced along the length of transmission, but half of them belong to one clutch and half to the other clutch. One clutch handles the odd number gears, so think 1, 3, 5, 7, and the other handles the even numbers 2, 4, and 6. Here's why this matters. While you are driving in one gear, the next gear is already spinning and ready on the other shaft. So when it's time to shift, the transmission doesn't have to find a gear. It simply swaps which clutch is engaged, and that handoff happens almost instantly, usually in about 60 to 100 milliseconds. For reference, a well-tuned automatic might shift in about 200 to 500 milliseconds. A human shifting a manual might take half a second or more. So when we say DCT is fast, that's not marketing, it's really the physics. There is a trade-off though, because the next gear is always spinning. There's a little bit of wasted energy. It's not much, but it's a small loss that exists purely to make those lightning quick shifts possible. Not all DCTs are built the same way. And one of the biggest differences is whether they use wet or dry clutches. A dry clutch system uses friction plates that engage directly with no oil between them. It's lighter, cheaper, and slightly more efficient, which is why you see it more often in smaller, lower torque cars. But dry clutches can wear out faster, they run hotter, and they tend to feel a little more jerky at low speeds. A wet clutch system bathes those friction plates in oil. That oil cools them and smooths out engagement, so they handle much more power and last longer. The trade-off is that wet systems are heavier, more complex, and are slightly less efficient. Neither is better across the board, but it's worth checking which one your car uses if you're shopping. It can tell you a lot about how the car is designed to be driven. All of this engineering pays off in real performance. Because the next gear is always standing by and shifts happen so quickly, a DCT keeps the engine closer to its power band. Many DCT-equipped cars have shorter gear ratios than their manual counterparts, which means the car stays in the sweet spot more often. And then there's launch control, a feature that uses the DCT's computer-controlled clutches to deliver near-perfect starts. It can balance clutch slip, wheel spin, and torque delivery more consistently than even the best driver can with a manual pedal. Put all that together, and the result is often 0 to 60 time that's 3 to 6/10 of a second quicker than the same car with a manual transmission. But here's the reality check. Those times are measured under ideal conditions, perfect traction, perfect surfaces, perfect launches. So in the real world, you'll rarely achieve that. And on public roads, you'll almost never need it. It's great for bragging rights, but it shouldn't be the only reason you choose a transmission over another. For all of its performance benefits, a DCT does have one weakness that shows up where most people drive: low speed situations. Because the clutches physically engage and disengage just like a manual, parking lot speeds or stop and go traffic can feel a little grabby or abrupt. That's especially true with dry clutch designs. A manual transmission can also feel jerky here, but you're in control, so it's more predictable. A traditional automatic with a torque converter feels silky smooth. The fluid coupling allows the car to creep forward gently without any mechanical engagement at all. That's why a DCT sometimes feels more on-off at low speeds. It's not slipping fluid, it's actually opening and closing clutches. DCTs are also more complex and expensive than traditional automatics. Clutch packs eventually wear out, and replacing them can be costly. Maintenance intervals and fluid changes can vary widely too, so it's worth checking with your car for specific needs. The good news though is modern dual clutch transmissions are far more reliable than the early versions, and many are built to last well over 100,000 miles. But they're still more complicated than a manual or most conventional automatics. So, is a DCT right for you? If you care about performance, acceleration, or track driving, or you just love the feel of a fast, precise shift, then a dual clutch is hard to beat. If you do a lot of city driving, crawl through heavy traffic, or want the smoothest, most relaxed driving experience possible, a traditional automatic might make you happier in the long run. And if involvement and control are what you value most, a manual still offers a driving connection no automated gearbox can match. The bottom line? A dual clutch transmission is one of the most advanced ways to deliver power to the wheels, but like every piece of automotive engineering, it's a balance of trade-offs. You gain speed, efficiency, and precision, but you give up some smoothness. Ugh. The bottom line? A dual clutch transmission is one of the most advanced ways to deliver power to the wheels, but like every piece of automotive engineering, it's a balance of trade-offs. You gain speed, efficiency, and precision, but you give up some smoothness, simplicity, and cost. And understanding those trade-offs is what Wrench and Reason is all about. So cutting through the hype and explaining cars with clarity. Next time, we'll look at the other side of the equation. Torque converter automatics and continuously variable transmissions. How do they work? Why they still dominate the market? And where do they fall short?